I spent the last 300 days, that is nearly way over 7,000 hours, or in simple terms, nearly 10 months, and I've gone through that effort to try and validate the Galaxy S10 in 2024. So this makes this video not only a review, but my personal relationship with the Galaxy S10. So whether you're a student or whether you're anybody who looks to getting this device and rocking it in long term, please do stick around till the end of the video where you'll get my honest thoughts whether you should do the same or just ditch this one and move to the next one. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so right off the bat, the Galaxy S10 retails for around 200 to 260 bucks, and it can differ from retailers to retailers or from condition to condition. And in contrast to the $900 launch price, this phone has approximately depreciated by 70 to 80%. In fact, I have left an Amazon link down the description where you can go check it out after this. And so to mention, this device is a 5-year-old flagship of the S10 family, which consists of the Galaxy S10e and the S10 Plus, which all share unique and very special attributes. But today we'll specifically dive into my personal favorite, the middle child, the Galaxy S10 Plain. So this is the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plain, and assuming by now you've seen this device someplace somewhere. But holding this device off camera, you'll be greeted by the impressive build quality and density in nearly every corner you hold and touch this device. Heck, it's a flagship. You expect solid glass and metal to be the foundational construction of this device. But also assuming you like me and love curves, this device has one of the softest curves I've ever held in a smartphone at least. With common Gorilla Glass 5 on the back and Gorilla Glass 6 on the front, an aluminum metal chassis, which for some reasons is a glossy finish. By the way, the back also is glossy, which you get the obvious perks of the glossy finish, which is a fingerprint magnet, but for some magical reasons, it's not as slippery as other glossy finishes. And the colors, so that you know, are Prism White, Prism Black, Prism Blue, and Prism... No, I catch you on that one. It's actually Flamingo Pink. But depending on retailers, the most abundant color option I've seen so far is in this Prism White, which behaves uniquely on light exposure, which you are either a fan or absolutely hate. I personally love stealthier colors like blue or black, but this shade of white, specifically this Prism of White, wins it for me. IP68 water and dust protection. I mean, you can only say so much about this device. Bottom line is that it's built like a tank. I mean, I remember sometime going on the rain with it and going adventures with it, but aside from dead pixels and some in-screen burns, which is definitely my fault, there's nothing more I can say about this device which isn't good, because the display is extremely immersive. So let's talk about this pretty bright AMOLED panel, which spans my personal standard and favorite 6.1 inches diagonal with slim bezels all around, which makes it near 90% screen-to-body ratio. Ooh, HDR10 Plus 550 ppi contributed by a 19:9 aspect ratio that can max out 1440 by 3040p and a 60Hz refresh rate. This display is simply a work of art. In simple terms, it's a great screen. It has no color shifting on the edges that's nearly as visible, but in peak brightness like under the sun, it has little color distortion, which sincerely I don't like. I wish it was more seamless from bright to peak like the LG Style 3, which I reviewed earlier and left a link to that below the subscribe button, but it is what it is. Does it make me think I got good shots when in reality I didn't? Yes. Does it affect content consumption in HDR? No. Does the screen curvature causes accidental touches? Yes, also yes. But does it annoy me all the time? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But I think it boils down to what you mostly will be using your device for, which for most people, it's a solid 9 times out of 10. Like, let's say you're a gamer and put performance at the front end, then this device's display will amplify those gaming sessions. But let's not let performance slide, so here you have it. Snapdragon 855 based on a 7nm architecture, or in some markets and variants, Exynos 9820 based on an older 8nm architecture, Adreno 640 GPU or Mali G76 GPU for the Snapdragon and Exynos versions, 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, 128 or 512 gigs of ROM, expandable storage up to 512 gigs, and a single or hybrid SIM slot. Structurally, you can go crazy on this device, and because most people still believe in benchmarks, here you have them. But the more important question you probably have is how does it perform in the real world with uncontrolled lab variables? Well, I should mention that a typical performance V-time graph of a normal smartphone is usually like this, where it starts off at the peak the moment it's right off the box and just rolls down to oblivion as far as time is concerned. Well, that is also the case in the Galaxy S10, but in my near 300 days of usage, that graph has been more like this. Well, yes, it was at its peak for the first 1 or 2 weeks, but it's now on a more linear trajectory as far as the 300-day mark. Does this performance V-time function deviate anything gaming? Definitely not. In fact, this smartphone can pretty much handle any 2024 games you're thinking of. So, be it Warzone, be it Call of Duty, be it FIFA Mobile, or be it my favorite Trackers of Europe 3, any game, low intensive or high intensive, it can pretty much handle with little to no stress. Though you should know as the games get more and more demanding, so will the gameplay cause the phone to get more and more progressively hot. Not only hot, it will lead to sucking up more juice from the battery. Pro tip, I suggest that getting this device you should spend a couple extra bucks on this guy. You may not get this exact model, but if you're interested, links down the description. So essentially, this is a power bank and I will definitely recommend it to anyone who's thinking of getting the S10 in the first place, because the 34 milliamp hour battery is exactly how it sounds, which is horrible if you think about it. This battery won't blow your mind or anything because in an ideally perfect world of light usage, you can expect 6 to 7-ish hours of juice with the day ending completely empty, and you might need to juice it up once again. In fact, this here is my stat on a normal day of usage, where you can see I charge it pretty much every time I get the opportunity. But the charging experience, I would say, is pretty fast. As long as you don't compare it to those superchargers like Realme's 300-watt diabolical charging system. But me personally, I use a third-party charger from a company called Oraimo. Not that they're sponsoring this video or anything, but if you're interested, links down below. And I'm having 0 to 50% in just 30 minutes of charging, which is sick, but not mind-blowing when you're surrounded with the likes of Realme's and Xiaomi's superchargers. But for 1 hour 30 minutes you will get 0 to 100%, which is a bonus if you ask me. My take is that that charging rate is just in a sweet spot to compensate the lower battery capacity this phone is coming with. But you might as well kill it in like 3 to 4 hours when you're doing something like recording. So let's talk about the cameras. Now the specs, not that they matter, but 4 cameras, one on the front, 3 on the back. A main 12 megapixel f1.5 at 26mm with 2 f-stops to f2.4, which does this cool animation when switching between the stops. A second telephoto lens, 12 megapixel f2.2 at 52mm with the primary and telephoto lenses all OIS enabled, which explains this rattling when you shake it like a 123-degree ultra-wide lens that is 16 megapixels f2.2 at 13mm and a single-side punch cutout 10 megapixel selfie lens f1.9 at 25mm, and that pretty much briefs it for the specs. But because it's Samsung's processing, there are things that you should know before crashing and cashing in your efforts to this device. Like for example, people processing in this device specifically is soft. It also sometimes gets, sometimes doesn't get skin tones perfectly, which sometimes it's a case of saturation, sometimes it's a case of contrast, sometimes it's overexposure, sometimes it's underexposure. But you could just fix these small little discrepancies by shooting with the Pro mode that comes pre-built in the camera app, or you could just fix it in post with a little bit of editing. Will the average person notice this fringing in people's shots? Definitely no, but will the professional photographers notice this fringing and find it completely annoying? Definitely yes. But if you're the person who needs a solid, reliable, all-around camera system that you don't need to dig in the settings to deal with exposure and saturation to get that perfect portrait shot, yeah, this is the one. Personally, I don't mind how Samsung handles their people processing algorithms on this device specifically, but I prefer how it handles landscapes and street photography. And believe me, I've made impressions on the Pixels and iPhones of the world. But for landscapes, I'm drawn to how Samsung handles it in this device. And lastly, video. Now this device can shoot up to 4K 60 frames per second on the front and back. And up to this point, the entirety of my YouTube channel has been shot on this device specifically. Now this is how it looks on the main camera, but this is by far the video and audio quality coming from the Galaxy S10. Let me know down in the comments how it sounds from the front-facing camera, which is what I'm using right now. If someone tells you the Galaxy S10 is a good investment for a YouTube channel startup, at least you heard it from me. And speaking of night mode, the S10 came with Android Pie right out of the box. But till 2024, the max it can go is Android 12 and no more. But with the updates comes with added benefits like night mode and Samsung's color palettes as well as dynamic lock screen, all One UI and classic Samsung's Google duplicate apps like the gallery and messages. I mean, it's a flagship. What more could you ask? Clicky buttons, great speakers. But the millennial question, should you buy this device specifically in 2024? My honest and simple answer, if you're willing to bear the upsides and downsides that come along purchasing a previous flagship, is yes, go for it. And for just a couple more or less bucks, you can check the S10 or the S10e. But if you're not in the reach of the Samsung Galaxy S10, maybe specifically for the money and for other accompanying reasons, I found someone who could do the S10 exactly but cheaper. Check out my review of the LG Style 3 somewhere up here or first link down the description, and I'll see you there. Thanks for watching, and as always, the only limit is your imagination. Peace.